there's now, you go to MySpace, if you remember what MySpace is. And, did I say that? Go to MySpace, and there are 5 gazillion bands on there, 99% of which are horrible. Because little Johnny down the block is in the garage creating his own music that's horrible. So while the barriers are lower, if you're good, though, there's that much more clutter that you have to get through. So you need to find creative ways to get the word out. And someone whose music is horrible, more often than not, isn't going to spend the time and have the know-how and put the sweat equity into working social media and some of those other things to get the word out. So, that's why a good presence on Facebook or blogging or using Twitter can be great for a band, because you can then reach out to potential fans in a lot of different ways. And there are some really cool business models out there for music distribution and just promotion. There's some really good stuff there.
Awesome.
Okay. And just to get back real quick, you asked about the other side, of the industry side. It's a lot easier to connect with people. I can look at my friend Lori's Facebook page and see that she's friends with so-and-so, and
right.
There's that ability to ask someone to be your friend, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on Facebook, and you can start building relationships. There's something, I don't know, there's a lot of walls that have been torn down, I think, because of this whole online social media thing. And, I can go on Twitter and I can follow someone as big as Shaquille O'Neal, and there's a chance that he may actually talk to me on Twitter. Whereas prior to this, I would never even think that I'd ever be in the same city as Shaquille O'Neal, let alone the same room speaking with him. So we now have a lot more access to people and celebrities and musicians. I can talk to members of bands and have them talk to me, and I can get to know them. So that networking ability is so much easier now than it ever was when we were confined to what you might call the physical world or real world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has there been maybe a specific artist or company that you work with that had, I guess basically, could you give us an example of something that you've done for a musician or company that made just a huge difference that probably be applicable to people watching this?
One of the things that was kind of cool is I have a number of, there's a really good music scene here in Lancaster, mm-hmm. and I have some friends that are involved in the music scene. And there was a band that came out quite a while ago, they don't exist anymore, called Movies with Heroes. And they were probably one of the biggest bands to come out. They actually toured Europe, they got some play on MTV and whatnot. And I'm friends with a few of the members of that. And the one guy who's the drummer has his own recording studio on the side. He created a band with some other friends that really doesn't exist. They do not want a record label. They do not want to play live. They do not want any of those constraints. They want to record and release the music that they want to release. So the name of the band is the French Revolution. So last year, when they recorded their first album, and it's sort of a rotating group of musicians with 2 main musicians at the core, they were like, we don't want to even sell this album. We just want to give it away. So we did like a sort of mini stealth campaign for several weeks with no one knowing, because they hadn't told anybody what they were doing and that this was the name of the band or anything. So we just did a mini stealth campaign via Twitter and Facebook, and created a Facebook page and created a Twitter account, but never saying that this was a band or anything else, and just started pushing it out there. And we started seeing, the French Revolution is coming, and just little plays on words and things like that. And then when we finally released the album, it was offered as a free download. And to the point where I think they're up over, it's been about a year now, but very quickly it grew, and they had well over 3,000 free downloads, and they did it through a variety of ways. They even, because it was free, they got picked up by a number of blogs, mm-hmm. and they didn't spend a lot of time talking about who even the members of the bands were, but it was really good music. And they're now working on their second album, and they're probably going to do a similar thing where they're just going to release it for free online through downloads on their website, downloads at noisetrade.com, which I think is probably the coolest.
Rebecca told me about that. It's really cool. I'm
You gotta
obsessed.
check it out. Joe Kirk. Joe Kirk is a guy I know who's the CEO of the company. He's someone you should interview. I mean, unless you can get Derek Webb. I mean, he certainly would be accessible, I think, too, to talk about it. But I think that distribution model, and I've had several friends who have used it very successfully, works. Where you offer your music for free, and you can build an audience. Because if you think about it, if you're a local band and you spend money on recording physical CDs, etc., and studio time, it's not that easy, even selling CDs, to recoup those costs. At best, it's a break-even proposition for most bands, and they may even have to suck up a loss. So, I've had friends who said, why should I go through all the work and spend all the money to print physical CDs when I can create everything as a download? You can even create download PDFs of the cover, the liner notes, whatever you want, and offer it for free. And what you do is you then have the ability on a national, international level to build an audience, build fans, because of the way people talk about music they like. And, with Noise Trade, people do have the ability to give you money if they want to. But, it's just a really cool proposition for bands to get the word out there and build an email database, which is what Derek Webb did and why Noise Trade got started. Was, you have the ability to build an online fan base in a way that you never could have before, with clipboards and having people sign up at show to show to show.
So, this is kind of off topic, but so Derek Webb started Noise Trade?
Yes.
I had no idea.
Yeah, the idea behind Noise Trade was, and if I get the story right, I think he was kind of ticked at one of his record labels, and he just wanted to get his music out. And it was a CD that was available in stores, and he said, I'm just going to offer it for a free download. And he ended up growing, grew a fan base, an email database fan list that was exponentially larger than what he had previously. And I think it was actually the album that he made the most money on sales-wise, even though he was offering it for free. It was kind of like you could pay whatever you want. And people were still buying the physical CD and doing it because if they like it, they want to support the musician. You're not there just to rip the musician off. And that's where, I think a lot of the music industry has fallen behind, is not recognizing that if I really like something, I'm willing to support that artist.
Yeah, I think, I've learned from experience from people I know that just having, really, really good music and a really, really good social media presence, you can just soar just if your music is free, just as long as people know about it via online.
You can get people to go out there and spend money to come to your shows, to buy merchandise. They may still buy a physical, copy of your CD if you have it available at your shows, but they're, you want people at shows, you want people to tell other people about your music, and that's where the internet, because, prior to social media, I'd have to go to individuals and say, hey, have you heard this? Have you heard this? Now I can go on Facebook, and I have 1,800 friends or so, and I can put it out there and say, hey, here's a free download of so-and-so, or here's a band you ought to check out. And a certain percentage of those people will click on that link and go and listen. And if they like it, they're going to do the same thing. So you can do it in a much more rapid amount of time than you ever could have before, prior to social media. And it's not just one platform. You can use Facebook, you can use Twitter. If you're a smart musician, you can put up a really cool blog that tells, whether it uses video or anything else, that lets your audience know what you're up to. Really and I think that's the cool thing too is, with bands, if you have a band you like, it's hard to get to know them. Especially my generation, band. I mean, I could never expect to meet any of these people. And now I have the ability to communicate with them and build relationships with them on a really cool level where they might talk to me. I think it's kind of cool that so-and-so from such and such a band is wishing me happy birthday on my Facebook page or whatever. And you can do the same thing to them and assume that they're the one that's going to be reading it. And I think that's the neat thing, too, is that with MySpace, especially a lot of the bigger bands, the assumption, it's not really them on the other end. They've got something that they've paid to do it. And now it seems like we're getting to the point where it's more real and we're getting better access to those people.
It's more personal.
It's much more personal.
Yeah.
There's a human there. I mean, you can talk to these individuals who are real.
Yeah. I think that's like the real that is the neat thing about it. You can talk to them whenever you want, or they'll get back to you. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that the music model, the way it was that you had all those layers in between the artist and the general public with management and everything else. And now it's a little easier to get access, and I think the artists appreciate that. I think the artists actually have missed the face-to-face that they get with their fans, because most artists recognize that without their fans, they're nothing. Yeah. And now you can just build a much larger fan base.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
if
gonna
your
say.
music is good.
Yeah,
that's true. So, just one last question, then we'll let you go. But based on, what you do with the inbound marketing and social media, and in relation to the music industry, where do you think musicians could improve the most using social media? Like, is it just simply responding to people, or just posting more? Like, what would be the number one? Like, this is simple. You can do this. Go ahead.
You know what? I would say that probably is to use it. A lot of people, and this is for businesses and bands, a lot of people, it's like they create the page, like a Facebook page, or a Twitter account, and they use it merely as a way of sending out information. Mm-hmm. And what we need to do is, if you do that, all you're doing is broadcasting. All you're doing is creating another website. And we don't need another website. The purpose of social media is that you focus on the social side of social media, not the media part. Mm-hmm. Think of the word social. Build relationships and engage. Be yourself. Don't just use it to send out, hey, we're doing this, we're doing that. If someone says something to you on your wall, respond. If they ask you a question, give them an answer. Mm-hmm. If they just say, hey, I love your music, say thank you. That's a thrill to a music fan, to be able to have someone say thank you to them for liking their music, because it doesn't happen. If you pick a band like I'm a big U2 fan. If Bono, even in internet communication, were to say thank you to me for something, mm-hmm. I'd be floating up by the ceiling. And it doesn't even have to be someone as big as Bono. There's a lot of great indie bands and small label bands that are out touring around, and most of them are accessible. And this way, they can maintain that accessibility, and it pays back too, because when they come to your town, you're there spreading the word. Mm-hmm. And it translates, into through Facebook events and other things that you can do. It translates to people coming through the door. So it's worth it to build those relationships.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Do you have any more questions?
No.
All right. Anything you'd like to add before we go, or?
I think so. I think it's great what you're doing, and I hope something like this takes off. And
Thank
you guys build a nice fan base, and that the artists appreciate what you guys are trying to do for them.
Yeah.
So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Ken, so much, and it was great meeting you.
Yes, thank you very much.